Show me.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of I Welcome You to Kung Fu, the show where I bring on a guest who is not drowning in Kung Fu and martial arts cinema and have them watch any movie of their choosing, and I of course pick a movie that perfectly pairs up with their choice. This month, of course, it is the 1 year anniversary episode of the show. I felt that it was fitting to check in with our original guest from episode 1, a man whom I have talked to on several occasions, several podcasts, and several live streams, and yet still remains quite a mystery. Is he younger than me? Is he older than me? Is TikTok his main source of income, or does he have a job that he hates just as much as I do? What's his dog's name, and can I pet that dog? But I do know a few things about him. Philadelphia. He has about 200,000 plus followers on TikTok, and we all know him by 3 letters. Dan, welcome back to Kung Fu.
Wu-Tang martial expert. There's not many who can match up with him.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I'm 33. So
Okay.
am I older or younger than you?
I turned 30 in a month.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Also, my that dog's name is Thelma. I don't know if you can see her in the background. You can see her.
You said Stelna?
That's Thelma. That's like Thelma and Louise.
Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
And then Watson is by the door.
If the other dog was a girl, would they be Thelma and Louise?
I would feel too corny doing it.
Okay. I got you.
Uh, but she represents the pair, and two is good for now. Two is a lot, but they get along. She just turned 1. So
Okay.
it's been and I got Watson during the pandemic when I was living by myself. So he's been with me for a long time.
We all made some crazy decisions during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the movies here, has the social been going? What you got going on? Anything new?
Um, it's been going well. It's always steady. Something I am looking to do more is some interviews maybe in
Mm-hmm.
the next year. Um, I just got to do like an hour-long interview, and I won't go off on a whole tangent, but Paramount's making a movie called By Any Means
Mm-hmm.
with Mark Wahlberg and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. That kind of tells the story of Vernon Dahmer, who was a civil rights. It doesn't really tell his story, but it's built around the story of Vernon Dahmer, who was a civil rights advocate in Mississippi who focused on trying to get people mobilized to vote. And he essentially was killed by the Klan. They pulled up to his house, burned down his business, burned down his house. He fought them off while his family was trying to get out of the house, but ended up passing away from burns and everything. But
Yeah.
um, was a really pretty monumental like civil rights advocate. But essentially, Paramount turned that story into a movie that's focused on Mark Wahlberg's character, and Wahlberg's playing
Yes, I've seen the trailers for this. Yes.
yeah, he's like a enforcer for the New York mob that came down and allegedly helped the FBI, whatever, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're focusing on that, not focusing on Vernon.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be a footnote. And essentially, the family as a whole is not on board with this. They got
Mm-hmm.
one family member that they singled out that was they got to say yes. The
Right.
family's not getting compensated in any way. Um, and it was done in a very terrible way. So I was able to interview Vernon's son Dennis,
Oh dang.
and just talk about his dad and what happened. And I don't want to go on much longer, but it was a good experience, and I want to do more stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's neat.
yeah,
Yeah, so I saw the trailer for that. It looked very Green Book.
yeah, yeah. And they of course they make up like a black FBI agent that didn't exist, and it's like they weren't even hiring black FBI agents because the FBI
Hmm.
hated black people. So it's like, I don't know. It's an odd choice, but
Yeah, Hollywood gonna Hollywood, unfortunately.
yep.
Interviews are, I've done a handful of interviews for the channel, and you never quite know how they're gonna go. Like, I've had one person who, like, required me send them the questions ahead, like, beforehand, and I was like, all right,
Mhm.
that's not really how I wanted that to go, but that's fine. One person who, like, I've done like four or five. When I'm going to interview somebody, do I look at everything I can. I'm reading stuff. I'm reading articles. I'm reading interviews. I'm listening to them on other podcasts because I don't want to cover any ground that's already been covered. I want to be wholly unique. Ask any question I can. And I've done that for somebody and asked a question that I felt was unique, something they weren't asked on another thing, and then they had an answer that they had said on like another interview, and I was like, damn, got it. But then I've had like one guy. It was the fight choreographer for the Dev Patel film Monkey Man.
Wow. Okay.
That I felt early on that he like was like, all right, this rando dude on YouTube's gonna interview me, whatever. Like he didn't seem into it at the beginning, but I felt like by the final like 10 minutes that I had been interesting enough that I was like, won him over. I did it.
Nice.
So you never
That's
know
got
how
to
they're
be
gonna go.
a good feeling. Because like they don't know what they're getting into too, just like you don't.
Yeah,
So it's always and some people like you just mesh better with than others in terms of like a an interview or a conversation. It's just kind of how it goes.
yeah. But they're always fun. They're always interesting, and you never know what you get. I interviewed Marco Zoror, who's a Chilean martial arts actor. He's done some. He did. Did you see what is it called? Fight or Flight with no, didn't see that one. He's in that
Ah,
movie. He's in the TV show version of From Dusk Till Dawn. And that one
okay.
was weird because I guess I got to do it as part of like a press thing, so I only got 12 minutes, and it was like done in a snap of a finger. I was like, oh, that was fast.
Yeah, that's hard. You only get really like a couple questions, and if they like ramble on one, you're cooked. Fight or Flight, actually, this is not the movie I thought it was. The people like this movie a good bit, I feel like.
Many
Right?
people do. I was
Did
not the biggest fan, but many people
okay.
do.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So get into some questions before we dive into the movies here. It's been a year since we discussed Ip Man and the Prodigal Son. Have you checked out any martial arts films since then?
Tristan, you're not gonna like my answer, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't I don't think I have gotten into anything
Intentionally?
specifically that's just in the genre.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's not an intentional choice. That's a my brain is the sieve, and I kind of uh, it's just kind of how it goes sometimes. But I still would like to,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Did you get into any more of the Ip Man films?
no. Um, but I mean that is a movie that I genuinely loved. I think I gave that 5 stars. Um, and I would like to watch more of them. And I watching these two, I think was a positive experience. I think it was a mixed experience, but um, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But please don't take offense.
No, it's cool. I know you. You know, you're a busy dude. You post. I think that we follow a lot of people that post very regularly in the community. I do not. I just can't muster up the, I don't know, ability or time to do so. But you, I don't know, you post at least once a day, sometimes more. So it's like, and but you know, I'm sure aside from that, you're watching other movies, you're doing other stuff.
Yeah,
You
and to
got
be
dogs.
honest, I I watched a lot of stuff last year. This year in general, I feel like I've been slower on movies than I'd like to. I've been slower on releases for 2026 than I'd like to. I think I'm at like 130 total for the year, not 2026 like total. So that's it's less than I'd like to be watching, and it's it has been kind of an insane year, but I should be watching more, and um I'm gonna make a point to do that throughout the year. But like you said, TikTok and social media in general just is such a time suck. And like there are a lot of positives to it, but like sometimes you sit and think like how much time actually putting into this, it really adds up. But Um, it's there's good and bad to everything, I guess.
So with since we recorded that last one, I know that I joined you on the podcast for on your podcast, Goodwill Podcasting, for the Mortal Kombat episode.
Yes.
How does watching stuff like Ip Man and the Prodigal Son, does that have any effect on how you view like a modern American maybe martial arts film or anything?
Yeah, and I mean, like, I was watching the movie I preferred for today is The Magnificent Butcher.
Mm,
And like I was watching that and I was sitting there thinking like and I said to my fiance actually just like the quality of the choreography and what you're
mm,
actually seeing here and the physicality of it, like I feel like even an average kung fu movie or something I don't necessarily enjoy as much, like Once Upon a Time in China I was very mixed on. But
mm,
like there's still like sequences and scenes where you're just like holy shit, like
mm,
just at what you're seeing, and the speed and the precision and the fact that people aren't killing each other on set
right.
often is just really impressive. So yeah, I think it 100% has an impact, and I can imagine being in your shoes and watching a lot of stuff and then going into something like that and just being like, you
Mm,
know, let down. Especially when it's, you know, an IP that's so iconic and means a lot to people in terms of
mm.
in the space, I would assume.
Yeah, it's interesting because the example I always give to like I grew up watching foreign stuff even as a kid and as a teenager. So a franchise, an American franchise that I always avoided because I had zero interest in it. I would catch a glimpse of it on TV and think that just doesn't feel like anything I want to watch. Is the Mission Impossible franchise? The
Mhm.
only one I had seen was Fallout, and I loved it. It's great. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I have since I've started watching just I started from the beginning. I've only seen the first four so far, and three is heralded as like the one that saved the franchise after two. I like two, and it people think it's say it's a great movie, but there were like all the action scenes were just so jumpy and so shaky that I was like, this is bad. I don't like this, and this is what I saw glimpses of when I was 12, 13 years old and said no thank you to. So, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I think Mission Impossible 2 is a movie that gets like trashed. Like, and I feel like people just like to have, sometimes like to have a scapegoat in a franchise to be like, oh, that one's bad. And just
Mm,
to say that. And it's like, it really, it's not. It's just kind of a different movie. Um, I don't think it's bad by any means. I think the worst movie in the franchise is the last one,
right.
which I guess you haven't seen yet, but
Haven't gotten to it
it's
yet. Yeah,
um
I've heard a few things on it. I've heard it. Yeah, a bit disappointing.
if you remember and you watch it, like let me know what you think. I'd be curious. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's a good franchise.
I've got a question on here that I think I started asking later on. I don't think I ever asked you this, and that is, before any sort of expectations with martial arts movies or anything like foreign action films or anything. What would you typically look for in an action film? Like what would you see that you thought, wow, that was really good?
Good question. I think for me, and I think this applies to pretty much every genre, and like the way I engage with movies and the way I judge them and the way I kind of like score them for what that's worth, which is not much, but like how I think about it is I need to be feeling something. Like I have to be
Mm,
emotionally invested in what I'm watching. Um, and that's not to put down everyone looks for something different. I think there are people that uh would say like film is a visual medium. They want to
mm,
see art. They want to see essentially pictures, a series of pictures. They can have just images that are really pleasing to them, and the characters, the dialogue, that stuff is all secondary. Um, for me, I like writing, I like
mm,
words, I like conversations. I love dialogue and something that's very stripped back visually, very bare bones, but that has characters you care about, that
mm,
has well-written dialogue that has a little something to say, which is not always needed, but I think is nice. That will work for me more than something that's just geared to be um, more spectacle. So I think when it comes to action, um,
Just make you care.
I I like good action, but there has to be something behind it. Like it can be the best, the most beautifully choreographed fight in the world, but like if I am not feeling really much in the story or I don't really care, I'm gonna really struggle to like sink into it. And I feel like that's when I start feeling like, oh, this scene is dragging on or like it's taking too long. Um, but I think I need there to be stakes, and I think I need to feel some type of investment for any type of action to work.
Yeah. I'd be really curious to send you a few short films and know what you and hear what you think of those. Because there's this guy named Brian Sloyer who he pops up every now and again in some movies, but he's really known for his stuff on YouTube. And he won't just make like a compelling or like he won't just make like a really well choreographed fight scene. And as much as I love just like a somebody just posts like a 3 minute fight scene they made with their friends on YouTube, that's always cool. But he always has some story in the background. Like there's one of these three friends fighting, and you just see them fighting. You don't know anything about them, but in the middle of their fights, you see sort of flashbacks to their previous relationship together, and so all you know is that like, oh, these people used to be friends, but something happened to them, and sort of you just have to sort of figure out the story from there. Like he makes really interesting short films.
Yeah, send it to me. That sounds interesting. And I was trying to think of examples of stuff I like. Like I think Children of Men, I think is an all-time great action movie. Um, Minority Report. I mean, the Matrix, they're like my favorite movies of all time. Like I think I love Lord of the Rings. I grew up on Lord of the Rings. I think like I might think the Matrix trilogy is better, and I like
Yeah.
the fourth movie too. I don't think there's really much fall off at all. Um, but those are the movies that I guess I grew up watching where I um really felt like action could be something special, but I always was like deeply invested in that story as well and
Yeah.
what it had to say. But yeah,
It's funny with the you brought Minority Report because I've been thinking about watching it, but the only thing is I already know that Tom Cruise is going to take up too much of my letterbox wrapped at the end of the year because right before starting the Mission Impossible movies, my wife and I watched Jerry Maguire. So I was like,
okay.
I'm gonna really have to like watch a bunch of Sama movies or a bunch of Jackie Chan movies or something because I just know at the end of the year that my top actor is gonna be Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise, such a strange guy, and like obviously was very heavy into the Scientology stuff for a while and very vocal about it. He's shut his mouth about that for about 20 years. Um, I don't know what he's like as a person, but he's made so many good movies. Like it's
Yeah,
very
it's
easy to
almost
find
irritating.
yourself watching a lot of yes. Like it's very easy to find yourself watching a lot of Tom Cruise movies because it's like he hasn't made a lot of bad movies. With the exception of like The Mummy from
Yeah,
2017 or whatever.
he doesn't
But
he doesn't rest on his laurels, or he does rest on his laurels. He has integrity,
no. No,
most for the
doesn't
most
doesn't
part.
yeah, yeah, doesn't rest on his laurels. And like I think he similar to like a Christopher Nolan or a Ryan Coogler or someone like that. Greta Gerwig too. Like I think he cares about the industry and cares about art, cares about um, movie theaters staying open. So you know, on some level, I can respect that because there's so many people that are just like you know Scorsese, like show me the money, give me the AI, give me the slop.
Yeah.
I don't care. So it's good to see people stand up for something in some way.
Well, before we jump into our movie here, do you have any questions or anything going before we jump in?
Were there any other, when I picked Once Upon a Time in China, were there any other movies that you came close to picking or other things that you think would be a good addition to the conversation?
I'm sure I had. This is a handful of weeks ago, so I might have forgotten already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No worries.
Um, I mean, other than like the second Once Upon a Time in China, because a lot of people prefer the second over the first.
Are there like
Especially
five or six?
there are there's well no there's yeah there's six,
Okay.
and then there's also Iron. So if I had not already covered Iron Monkey on here, it would have been Iron Monkey because Iron Monkey is the prequel. Essentially, it's a bit of a softish prequel,
Okay.
but it's a lot of the same like production team and like Yuan Wu Ping, who's the fight choreographer on Once Upon a Time in China, got permission from the director to make Iron Monkey as sort of a prequel. But I almost picked the second one just because people like that one so much, and it does have the villain in the second one is Donnie Yen, and him and Jet Li have some pretty incredible fights in that one.
Understood. And Iron Monkey was made
In
93.
'93, yes,
Okay, so
yeah.
two
I
years
Once Upon
ago.
a Time in China was '91, and Iron Monkey was '93.
How do you feel is there a maintenance of quality with the rest of the Once Upon a Time in China series, or what's it like?
So again, most people prefer the second one over the first. I think three is really boring. And then after three, Jet Li leaves. I think because Chewie Hark, the director, leaves as well. And they replace him with an actor named Vincent Zhao, who is good, but he's no Jet Li in terms of just presence. He's very skilled, but I think four is the worst. Four is just a nothing movie. Also, I didn't realize until the fifth one when she's back that Rosamund Kwan is such a powerful presence in these movies because when she's not in the fourth, I was like, something else besides Jet Li is missing. And then when she came back, I was like, that's what it was. She's delightful.
Yeah.
I think five is, I won't say a return to form, but a far more entertaining movie. Like, I actually really enjoy five. And it may just be because they have to fight pirates. Something about throwing a bunch of kung fu guys against pirates. I'm like, this is a lot of fun. I'm having a great time. And then the sixth one is Once Upon a Time in China and America, where they come to the West, and it's a bit of a Western. And Sammo Hung directs that one, and I like that one a lot.
That sounds
And
like a
Jet
lot of
and
fun.
Jet Li returns for that one as well.
Okay. Does it deal with like the gold trade?
I don't remember. There is a weird bit where have you seen Shanghai Noon?
A long time ago.
Do you
Yeah.
remember the bit where Jackie Chan like befriends the natives?
Vaguely.
Yeah, so there's a bit where Jackie befriends the natives, and I think he even like marries their like princess kind of thing. But it's kind of weird because there's a bit of that in Once Upon a Time in China and America where Jet Li hits his head and gets amnesia, and he like washes up down the river and he gets picked up by some Native Americans, and he like they're like, oh, this guy's cool. He's not one of the white people, so we're gonna accept him into our tribe. And so I'm like, did I saw that and I just thought, did whoever made Shanghai Noon see this and was like, well, let's just do that again?
Yeah. Um, I forgot this movie ever existed with Owen Wilson.
It's a good one. I
Been
like
a,
it a lot.
it's been a very long time.
No, I like that one. I don't say it's better than Rush Hour. I think well, no, that's true. I think I quoting myself said Shanghai Noon is a better movie than Rush Hour, but Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker have better chemistry than Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Owen Wilson is just like kind of a very limited actor. And like, I mean, he can do comedy, but I don't think he's a great actor really at all.
I've enjoyed him in a handful of things, but no, it's
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It might be worth revisiting one day because it is a lot of fun. I like it a lot. But let's go
Okay.
ahead and jump into our first movie and your choice, the 1991 film Once Upon a Time in China.
Abbott, I want you to shave my head. If you refuse to help, I swear I'll burn this temple down. Fire!
壯志凌雲，合氣衝天。膽似鐵打，骨似精鋼，胸襟百千丈，眼光萬里長。
Once Upon a Time in China from the studio Golden Harvest, directed by Tsui Hark, starring Jet Li, Rosamund Kwan, Yuan Bu, Kent Chang, Jackie Chung, Shi Kuan Yen, and choreographed by both Yuan Wu Ping and Lau Kar Wing. Renowned doctor and martial arts instructor Wong Fei Hung finds himself and his country caught between Western nations encroaching on China. While Fei Hung is struggling to accept his culture both changing and disappearing, he must put an end to the criminal activities of his own people and the trafficking being done by Westerners. Dan, I've got an idea of why you chose this one, but let us know why you chose Once Upon a Time in China.
So it's interesting. I actually I had this on my watch list from a long time ago. I've had um, I want to say more than one conversation with people in my comments and stuff um, about this movie. So I had it sitting on there on Letterboxd, um, and was looking at some stuff on there, and we were talking, and then was just kind of searching around as well for something I thought uh, might be interesting, and I thought this sounded cool. I think this it's an interesting period in Chinese history. I think China and Japan, the process of like Westernization and the
Mm,
I think really in any country, that process and the concept of um, holding on to your culture
mm,
and your traditions and your way of life
yeah.
versus Western influence. I think looking at that and also considering um, when it becomes xenophobia, when it
Mm,
becomes something else, and that's this movie definitely flirts with that a little bit. I think there's a
mm,
lot of pride, and not that pride is a bad thing, but I think it's interesting to kind of see how stories tackle that, and just the presence of colonial forces there, competing colonial forces. I think it's an interesting story. There's so much going on
yeah. That's one
in
of
this
my big
movie.
notes is by
Yeah,
the end. I think I put it on Letterboxd was by the end of the movie. There's too much going on. Like
yeah,
he's fighting like three different bad guys by the end of the movie.
yeah, yeah. You have a lot of conflict. You have this romantic subplot with
Mm-hmm.
his 13th
13th
aunt.
Ant. Yeah.
Yeah, can you explain to me how that
No, not really.
works?
I've never really made a lot of sense of it. I think I've read up on it and like I don't know if it's just like a an honorific kind of thing. Like it's just a respect thing. I don't. But yeah, I can't make complete sense of that. I don't know.
Okay, she's the daughter of a sworn brother of his grandfather. So I'm assuming sworn brother means someone who's not actually your family, but you
Right.
have some type of oath with. So like one of those things where someone's just around and you consider them family,
Like
but
it's
they're
a
not actually
Godfather
family.
situation.
Yeah. So
I've called people I know aunt and uncle. I grew up with like four different people I wasn't related to. I still have like my uncle Ennis. So yeah, I've always known people that I'm not actually related to that I say aunt and uncle. So yeah, whatever.
yeah, yeah. But there is a lot going on. And I think I found that a little bit frustrating because I think at the core of the story, I also think um, I think it's a good pairing with Magnificent Butcher because both of them are very interesting tonally. This is a
Mm,
movie where the tone is like really odd.
yeah.
It's a very heavy, very serious movie, but at the same time, there's like a decent amount of comedy.
Mm,
And I think I think it's balanced really well in Butcher, but not so much here. I think it feels a little bit jarring with how heavy some of the stuff actually is.
yeah. There's especially the one scene in particular of the British just
Yeah,
there's a handful of Chinese people who are being bad guys. They are bad guys, but the British just open fire on everybody who is Chinese, and that's a very heavy moment.
very British.
Yeah, the British gonna British. What is your experience with Jet Li,
Um,
an
it's
American star,
not
somebody who made it over to the West?
it's not massive. I was going to take a look at Letterboxd and see, but not extensive by any means. I enjoyed his performance. I think he does a good job. I also um, I wanted to ask you how familiar are you with the historical figure himself of Wong Fei Hung? Because he seems like reading up on him, he seems to be a really interesting guy, but it also seems like one of those situations where not too much is really
Yeah. So like
known
we I
or
think from
recorded.
what I
Yeah.
heard, we know actually. So the one thing we definitely know is what he did, who he was, and when he was alive. Because there are martial art descendants. I think Mark Houghton today. Mark Houghton is a he was a stuntman in the 80s and 90s. He's still, he's a martial arts instructor these days in his older age. But he learned Hung Gar from Lau Ka Lung, who's a famous director from the 80s and 70s. And then Lau Ka Lung is like his teacher studied under Wong Fei Hung. So like there are like a lineage that is still sort of going today. So we obviously know he was real, but like I saw something saying we really know so little about him that like the most famous picture of quote Wong Fei Hung isn't actually of Wong Fei Hung. It's like that's how much
Yeah.
we really know about him.
Yeah. His Wikipedia picture, I'd assume, which is and says an alleged picture.
Yeah,
Um, and then there's another one that was later confirmed to be one of his sons. I think that might be what you're
that might be it.
referring
Yeah.
to. But I think it's interesting that um, the concept of being a warrior, but also being a healer and having that be his profession and taking care of people, um, I think is a nice thing and it makes for a compelling character. I like when there's that kind of juxtaposition with any character. Also, to answer your question about Jet Li, very little. I had seen him in Mulan, the live
Right.
action Mulan,
Where he's
which
dubbed. Yeah.
was not very good. And I had seen him in The Expendables as Yin Yang was his character's name,
Yeah. You know.
which, okay. But anyway, that is my, and I guess Expendables 2 I've seen. Yeah.
You haven't seen like Hero or any of his like no like Kiss of the Dragon or Romeo Must Die, nothing like that.
I don't have Lethal Weapon. So I've
4.
seen him in Expendables 2 and 3. I don't have them logged. I've seen Lethal Weapon 4 a long time ago, don't have that logged. But have not seen Fearless, have not seen The One, have not seen Hero. Um, I have a lot to
I
watch.
normally try to save some recommendations for the end now, but I if there's two that I think that you would absolutely love, it's Fearless and Hero. Like Hero is just an absolutely beautiful movie. The director Zhang Yimou, like his calling card is he is going to use color to the very most of his ability. Like he makes gorgeous films. He made a movie called Shadow back in like 2016 or so, where he was like, I'm gonna do the opposite of color, where his two big color the color palette for the movie was black and white. So every design, every piece of clothing, everything everybody wore was black, white, a gray, some sort of shade of any of those things. And it still is an absolutely gorgeous movie. Like he is a master of that. And then Fearless is just it's just a wonderfully told story. And again, another real guy in Hua Wanja. But it's Jet Li probably giving his best performance, and then it is also it's supposed to be his sort of retirement movie where he's like, I'm gonna make one final grand kung fu movie, and then I'm just like, it's done there. And he went out with a bang. It's an amazing movie.
Is Sun Lee of relation to Jet or no?
I would say no. I don't think so.
Okay.
What do you have any experience with this director in Chewy Hark? Probably not.
No, I do not. Has he directed this entire series?
He did 1 through 3. He may have came back for 5, and then again, Sammo Hung did 6. So he at least did 4 of them.
Most popular movie is Green Snake.
I haven't seen that one. I think he did a movie called Throwdown. I watched that one. That was pretty good. That was
Yeah,
not an action movie at all.
Peking Opera Blues, Double Team.
That might be in the
Um,
Criterion Collection.
yeah. Also because of Butcher, I got a Criterion membership. So thank you for
Oh yeah.
pushing me into that. That's one of those things I've just like forgotten to do for eternity. So thank you again.
Sorry, I made you
Um,
spend money.
no, I am always looking for stuff that's worth supporting and having. I there's tons of stuff on there I'd love to watch. And the movie looked great, looked beautiful on the stream, so it was great.
I hope. I wonder if it's probably the same quality as I got the box set right there of all 6 movies. So based on I guess the movies you have seen, since your last visit and everything, what were your expectations going into this one? Probably even hearing like the reputation it has on this one.
Yeah, I think I expected it to be good. I've read that it's in the upper echelon of the genre, or generally considered to be. Um, I think I expected something more serious maybe than it oftentimes was.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I expected a story that I would find compelling, which I generally did. Um, but I think I just maybe was a bit taken off guard by um, the tone, like I said.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any standout moments? Moments that really memorable for you?
Um, I think, and maybe to kind of capture what I'm talking about, there's a moment towards the end um, when the primary villain was that Yuan Bao?
Yuan Bu is I don't remember the character's name at all. He's the guy who wants to join Wong Fei Hung at some point, and then he ends up like working for the bad guy at the end, and then realizes he's a bad guy
Yes.
and joins back with yeah.
Yeah, he gets that's the Lang Fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he get, his death is pretty spectacular. He gets shot about 200 times. And it kind of goes on for so long. Again, it's kind of one of those moments where I'm like, is this supposed to be, is this funny? Is this heavy? Like I am not exactly sure. But I think that was definitely a striking moment, and the three of them kind of come together under the bridge and have a conversation. But do you like when you see a moment like that, do you think it's supposed to be it's being played for laughs, or do you think it's being played for the weight of it?
I think there's a I don't know if how much it would have played for last, especially with the you're talking about the villain's death here. No, I think really what that is in that moment. I think I remember Wong Fei Hung tries to show some sort of compassion for him. Like he tries to once he's like kind of beaten him down and submitted him. He's like, all right, enough of this. We're done. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna kill you. I'm not gonna just stop. This is over. And then I think just what I really honestly what it might be is Chinese and Hong Kong films are so synonymous with like really really evil foreigners that them just lighting him up full of bullets as opposed to Wong Fei Hung saying I'm not going to kill you is probably just to really make the villains look that much more evil.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think like the film kind of shows a lot of like infighting within the
Yeah.
Chinese, and I think it kind of like always pulls back to like showcasing the brutality of like these other forces that are there and showing how kind of like everyone is squabbling, but then outside of that there's this like other world with these other forces. There's a scene where they're having dinner with the something I wanted to ask you about. Who is the either British or American guy who seems like he knows his way around martial arts, who's kind of like the American or I
Yeah,
can't
Kent Chang called him. I think he just called him like American Chinese.
yeah. Is
Buck
that
So
guy was that guy somebody famous or no?
he is. I mean, he's that actor Jackie Chung. He is quite big in Hong Kong.
Wait, was there not is he from Hong Kong? Yeah. I swear to God there was like a white dude. Am I imagining that?
I'm not like one that was on like Jet Li's side, one that was like hanging out with him.
No, like he was with he was either like an American or British, like he was their goon, like their main fighter, and like they have a
Oh,
scene where
like
they're
the
in.
tiger. Yeah, the tiger.
Yes, I was curious about who that was.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm looking at his name, Steve Tartaglia. Looking at his credits here. I mean, he was in 17 again. That's funny. No, I mean nothing that I'm super aware of. I don't really
Okay,
recognize his
gotcha.
face. Like I don't. There's a handful of like white or even just Americans in Hong Kong movies that I'd be like, oh, that's Richard Norton. That's any of these guys. But no, I don't. Other than this, I don't think I've ever seen him before in my life.
Gotcha. I felt like he kind of got hyped up as like a villain, so I thought it was kind of funny
He
his
did.
like
He and
style.
I think he did, I think Yuen Bu fights him at the end, but I don't think it barely anything happens.
Yeah. Um, but I also enjoyed that there's a scene where they're all having like lunch and like discussing um I guess like diplomacy, and the fight kind of spills into the where they're eating, and like that was one of those moments where it's just kind of the scale of it, and
Right.
it was very destructive, and it was a lot of
Possibly
fun.
rather serious conversation turns into a little bit of comedy and some fight scene.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like.
Um,
There's a moment in that scene where, and this it always makes Lung Fun's character Yuen Bu. His whole thing is like he wants to learn under Wong Fei Hung because he's not good enough, and he's like I can't make a name for myself even though I'm this great fighter. And it's
yeah,
like you see him do a handful of things, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You're incredible. And even in that scene, he's like standing on top of a table, and people keep swinging at him, and he like does like three flips from table to table to table to table. That even Wong Fei Hung in that moment sees him and goes, "You're good." I'm like, what is this dude talking about? Grow some confidence, man. You're great.
yeah. He's very insecure. Um, when you're like when we're seeing stuff like that in a sequence, or like in big choreographed action set pieces, is everything you're seeing always like one to one, like they recorded it as it was? Like, are people ever on like wires, or like what is the kind of like movie magic side um for that stuff, or is it always just kind of like what you're seeing is what happened in the moment?
I mean, this movie is definitely heavier on the wire work, especially in that final fight scene where they're bouncing from ladder to ladder and going all over the place. That scene is heavy wire work. And honestly, as when I was a lot younger, I used to not like that kind of stuff. I used to say I didn't like this movie, and now I'm like, no, it's good. I like this movie a lot. But no, yeah, there's plenty of wire work in this one. I was even going to ask you like what you thought of. You've seen Ip Man, which is far more. The Wing Chun in that movie is just a straight up like we're standing on the ground, we're fighting, and Prodigal Son, even our next movie Butcher, lots of just on the ground fist fighting choreographed fights. Whereas this movie, how do you feel about that sort of wire work style of action?
I think my preference is the kind of grittier ground, more grounded, like on the ground, hand to hand um stuff. I think I just it makes me feel a little bit more, and I think I again, I feel like there are moments here that like the goofiness kind of caught me off guard, and or like the um absurdity of it. And I think part of it too is like I feel like Jet Li's performance is very serious and is very grounded, and he feels like a real person um dealing with all this real stuff, but then there's a lot of absurdity around him. So I think if I had to choose, I would say I preferred um like the action in Magnificent Butcher. I thought was spectacular.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it's easier to stay invested in the story when it's more feels more real.
yeah. When the Jet Li, I mean, Jet Li's not necessarily a wire work guy, but just Jet Li, something like with, I guess, like with Butcher and with Prodigal Son, a lot of those guys come from a Peking opera background, so they trained how to do everything they're doing on screen. They trained how to do it for a stage. Whereas Jet Li wasn't trained in Peking opera. Jet Li was a wushu champion, which was really just, he wasn't fighting, but it was just forms, doing incredible looking movement, fluid and beautiful, but it was just the movement. It wasn't like doing choreography on stage. It was just, I'm going to do my movements better than you can do your movements. And he was a champion in that in his childhood. He had like several championships in China and Hong Kong before he was 10 years old, and he was so successful at such a young age that he retired from that at 17. So like
Wow.
that's how good he was. But yeah, it's I used to not love the wire work so much. I think I've grown to like it a lot more. Again, just like you, I was brought into martial arts movies by someone like a Bruce Lee or a Jackie Chan, which is going to be far more grounded. So it took me a little while to sort of adapt and get used to it.
Understood. So Jet Li, did he ever fight competitively in any fashion or
No, it's just all forms. It's just all it's like katas and karate.
yeah, understood. That's cool. Another thing I wanted to mention in this movie was I thought the way it presented the idea of America was really interesting in terms of this place. They were kind of selling it as a place people could go, um, and have prosperity and like the way it was maybe not funny, but like sad hearing the way that the gold rush, I guess, was presented as something that could bring an individual laborer like prosperity, as if you were like taking the gold and um, using it for yourself, when in reality people were just kind of used as slave labor and treated really poorly. And then
Well, yeah,
obviously you
and
kind of get
yeah, that comes up by the end of this movie
yeah,
of someone being
yep,
like, because there's a guy who's on a stage being like, "Come on, we're going to America. You're gonna have work. You're gonna have a," and then by the end of the movie, there is one guy who's like, "No, we were
yeah,
just chained up and put on a ship."
yeah, and that was very real, very heavy. There's also the like human trafficking side of it as well with the women um that they're dealing with Americans on, which definitely hits home right now. Um, but I thought that was also really heavy. Um, and I do the rest of the movies, or I know you said you might prefer the second one, like thematically, is it dealing with the same stuff? Is it what's it actually tackling?
No, I don't think so. I remember that I watched all of them a couple years ago now. I remember one of them has like a cult entity has got to deal with that. Like I said, by the fifth movie, he's fighting pirates, and it's like it's so bonkers. But I was so bored by the fourth one that something as bonkers as pirates in the fifth movie was entertaining, and I enjoyed it. No, I don't remember a lot of them being really dark and political, but I may just be missing something because it's been at least 6 years since I've seen them all.
Yeah. I also I thought the opening was really strong, like on the boat with the lion dance. Um, and the performer gets, I guess, nearly shot or hit a little bit.
Yeah, like some firecrackers start going off, and a British soldier just starts firing.
Starts shooting, yeah. Um, and then Wong Fei Hung like picks it up and keeps going. I thought that was powerful. Thought the music was really good in this too, which adds a lot. And I thought the same with Butcher. Like there's like a little theme from that I was like,
Yeah, so that is
it's a
so
bop.
Wong Fei Hung. So there's this booklet that came with the Criterion set here, and they had sort of a comparison that I really liked, where they just said Wong Fei Hung is like imagine if we had a imagine if Teddy Roosevelt, if he already has this sort of like folk hero kind of quality
Mhm.
to him. Imagine if we made over 100 movies, and there were books and radio dramas and video games and comic books and all this other stuff, all about the adventures of Teddy Roosevelt. That's Wong Fei Hung. Like, and he had a TV show and like a bunch of movies throughout the 40s through 70s through 80s, and that theme song you hear in this and in Magnificent Butcher, it's the Wong Fei Hung theme song. Like, you're not gonna get a Wong Fei Hung movie or anything and not hear that theme song. It's like, I mean, it's like how now, in like anytime you get a new Superman or a new Batman, you're gonna hear like the Danny Elfman theme.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just iconic at that point.
Got you. I liked it a lot. Another question I had with this movie was, um, and I rented it on Amazon. Like, it was strange because I feel like the dialogue, um, like when people are speaking Mandarin or Cantonese, it almost felt like it looked like it was dubbed.
Mm.
I don't, do you know why that is, or is there a reasoning for that? And I feel like it was throwing me off
So it
consistently.
could have been that it could have been that the movie was recorded in Cantonese or Mandarin and you were watching it in the other language, but also movies back then, even bigger budget ones like this, a lot of the time in Hong Kong, they recorded dialogue. They recorded on the day, almost completely silent. Like, there's the actress Cynthia Rothrock. She's American, but she was a big star in Hong Kong. And her first movie, she's like, I was nervous because I'm like, they're giving me dialogue, and I'm like, I don't speak your language. I don't know. I can't do this. And somebody had to tell her, like, it's silent. We're gonna dub it over later. So like, even like back in, if you watch like the most popular '80s Jackie Chan film, on the day it was shot silent, and he dubbed it later.
That's so distracting. I feel like, does it bother you at all, or are you just like used to it?
I'm numb to it.
Yeah.
Like, the word is numb.
Okay.
Like, it's like, I don't know, did you ever see The Furious?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
There are a handful of characters. Not everybody is dubbed, but there are a handful of side characters who are dubbed. And everyone's big complaint about the movie was, oh my god, the action's incredible. Like, yeah, the story's not great, but the action. But also, this dubbing was really distracting. No, I am numb. Like, there is no. I will catch it. I'll see it. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also kind of just like it's not really something to like fault a movie on because like
Mm,
it's just a technical aspect of how it was made. I mean, I guess if it's jarring and it takes you out, it takes you out, but like it is kind of unfair.
yeah.
Um, I found myself occasionally getting distracted by it, and I was wondering, like I was thinking about like the process and what it like how it happened and what was going on. So,
Yeah.
um, just
I've
something
also
to
got here.
consider.
So weird. I don't know. This feels like such a long time ago. This character and this story, but it was only like the late 1800s. And so, like, I just noted down when Wong Fei Hung was alive and how recent it feels. He only died 101 years ago. He died in 1925. He was alive from 1947 to 1925. And sort of a comparison I have for that is Ip Man. We watched Ip Man. He died. So Wong Fei Hung is alive from 1847 to 1925. Ip Man is 1893 to 1972. Which I'm like, yeah, like they're, way more than just like, oh yeah, they're alive at the same, like they're like plenty within each other's time period. And then like, even then, like Bruce Lee, like, for Ip Man from 1972, Bruce Lee is born in 1940. So it's like, it just feels like it's like no time at all.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think in general we appreciate like how recent all of our history is. Like, I don't think people
Mm,
appreciate how recent the Civil War is. Like,
yeah.
it was not a long time ago
No.
whatsoever. Um, and that's a whole nother conversation, not to go off on a
Yeah.
tangent. But
Well, it's like
um,
I remember there's a famous clip of a TV show from like the 1930s or 40s. Like it's black and white, but there's sound and everything of like an old man who was like, "I saw Lincoln be assassinated." I'm like, "That's some shit, dude." He's like, "I was a boy, but I was there."
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting with black and white because, black and white photography and all was used for a long time. And I feel like there are events that were photographed in black and white that people think because it's in black and white, it happened a long time ago. Um, like the move bombing, for example, in Philadelphia. Like there's pictures in black and white, and people are like, "Oh, that was forever ago." It's like, no, they just blew up a city block like very recently. Um, I think it's interesting how photography gets used. Did you watch Train Dreams last year? I don't remember.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna say I think we were talking about this kind of era, and I think that movie captures the feeling of going
Mm,
from like the late 19th century into the 1950s, and I think
yeah.
like
Was by
looking at
the end. He's like, "I'm flying in a plane."
he's in a biplane, yeah, yeah. It had to be something, and like Man was born in 1893, died in 72. Like you're born in the 19th century and then watching us go to space. I can't seeing the atomic bomb. I can't imagine just feeling the amount of change, seeing computers
Yeah.
and coming from that era.
It's the dude
Wow.
in Shawshank, who's like, "Before I went to prison, I saw one car. There was one car." He's like, "I get out of prison now. Everybody has a car."
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another movie that captures like, processing change in the world, kind of leaving you behind really well. Um, yeah, I love Train Dreams. That was great.
I've got a kung fu fun fact here. Something I started doing after the first episode, kung fu fun facts. Let's jump into the kung fu fun fact for this one, and that is that Wong Fei Hung may be the most like represented character in all of fiction in film. Like I always see these things of people saying like, "Oh, it's Godzilla maybe," or "No, it's James Bond." James Bond has the most movies, and every time I'm like, "Guys, it's Wong Fei Hung." Wong Fei Hung has like over 100 movies. Like he had a whole series with the same actor that ran from 1949 to 1970.
Wow.
Like all a whole series with the same guy.
Is anything generally considered to be the best representation of Wong Fei Hung in film or TV? Like,
It's this
is
movie.
there is this movie? Okay.
But also it's like he's like his character is very simple. He's just kind of like stoic and he's like do the right thing kind of guy. So there's not I guess a whole lot to him. Another thing I have with this movie is that Yuen Bu, who Lung Foon in this movie, he signed on to this because he was told that he was going to be the lead actor. He was told he was the main character. And so if you ever watch any of the sequel films, he does not come back, not even for the second one, because he was like, "No, I was told I was the lead."
Wow. I'm surprised he like stuck around and made the movie once he realized.
Yeah, but he didn't come back for the next one. In fact, I didn't even realize that the guy who replaced him in the next movie and all the next few movies, I didn't even realize it was the same character.
Who replaces him?
I don't remember the guy's name. He's kind of annoying. Let me see here. Like I remember, he's fine by the second movie. I remember, so I made a video years ago when I watched them all, like just ranking all the movies, and I made a note to say like by the fourth, maybe even by the third movie, I was like, this guy is getting on my nerves. And like there's a character that they bring in the third movie who ends up becoming like my favorite character in the series. And then like by the fifth movie, he's like hanging out with Lung Foon too much, and he's like making him annoying. And I'm like, You're so annoying. You're making me dislike this character that I really, really like.
Also, I wanted to say quickly, so I don't think we talked about it. Lam Sai Wing is
Yes.
Porky Wing, so
Yes.
that was a real person,
Yes.
and
Lam Sai Wing is a real guy.
that is Kent Chang in this film,
Yes.
and that's the protagonist. That's Sammo Hung in Butcher.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So Leung Foon is replaced by an actor named Mak Soo Chung, who I've seen in other things, and he's fine in other things. But in his as when he takes over this character, he becomes really goddamn annoying.
It's
Before
unfortunate.
we, yeah, it sucked. Before we, well, yeah, I think I got everything covered here. Before we go ahead and jump into the next one, do you have any final questions or anything left to say on Once Upon a Time in China?
No, I think it's solid. Like it's a movie I'm glad I watched, and I'm curious about the second one. Um,
I think
I
many could argue
think
watch the second one and stop there, but I think the last one, Once Upon a Time in China and America's got a lot of fun stuff in it.
I think if you're going to put this much into a movie, you almost have to make it like let it push 3 hours. Like this is like 210, and it just feels like it's going 1,000 miles an hour to get it all in, and it feels like it loses some of its bite
Yeah,
in that
no,
process.
yeah,
But like still a good watch. I enjoyed it.
yeah. It's got some excellent action in it. It's got some fun characters. Maybe you could possibly argue too many characters. But especially by the end, there's too many villains.
Yeah.
There's problems with the Americans. There's stuff with the British. There's already like like a Chinese gang, but then also they bring in Iron Robe and like yeah, you're gonna get a cool final fight, but there's a lot going on in the ending.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned Rosamund Kwan. Like I thought their romantic dynamic was like pretty solid. I think maybe there could have been more of that.
That continues through almost all of them, where it's like if Jet Li, if you don't turn around and kiss that goddamn woman, because it's like a buildup of like she's clearly like throwing herself all over you every single time she moment she can, and his character is just kind of meant to be so goody two shoe that he's like oblivious to it, and by the time you get to like a later movie, it's just like commit, do something with this dynamic. I understand, just do it already.
It also seems like he's stuck on the idea, like the 13th aunt concept, which
Yeah,
is not blood relation. So like what? But I guess there's just like a formality to it where he's worried. I don't know.
yeah, it's a weird one. Let's go ahead and jump into our second film and the movie that I have chosen to pair with yours, the 1979 film, The Magnificent Butcher.
My tiger kung fu is better than yours.
The Magnificent Butcher, directed by Yuen Wu Ping from Golden Harvest as well, starring Sammo Hung, Hoi Sang Lee, Fan Mei Shang, Hawk On Fung, Quan Tak Hing, Yuan Bu, Pai Wei, Fat Chung, Lam Ching Ying, so many people, and Mo Yuan. Lam Sai Wing is a butcher by trade and a student of Wong Fei Hung. He sells pigs, he trains in Hung Gar Kung Fu, and he jumps to way too many conclusions. But his world is turned upside down when the son of a feuding teacher frames Lam Sai Wing for murder. Now he must train alongside the king beggar to find justice. Normally I would straight up tell you why I paired this one up with yours, but I'm sure you already figured it out. So if you want to let me know why I paired it up with yours.
Or sharing characters.
Sharing characters. Lots of the same characters.
Yeah.
We have Sammo Hung, who is Kent Chang's character in the last movie, and he is learning under Wong Fei Hung, who was the hero of the last movie.
Yeah. How do you which characterization of Wong Fei Hung do you prefer? Do you have a preference?
I think this one is definitely obviously a much older, more stricter teacher.
Yeah.
I guess I would maybe prefer the Jet Li just because he is younger in his prime. Although Kwanta King pushing 70 and he's still doing like all those stretches and doing like a handful of his
Yes.
own fight scene. Like there's a few times in that moment where he's doubled. You can kind of tell because they don't show his face, but you see his face for a lot of it.
Yeah. I enjoyed his take on the character. I I really enjoyed this movie a lot.
Mm,
Um, I thought it was a lot of fun, and I this might be kind of a strange comparison. There's like a little bit of Nacho Libre in this for me,
I can see
like
that. I can see
a
that.
tiny bit. Um, just in terms of like how upbeat and kind of happy-go-lucky he is, and like sort
Mm,
of being a bigger guy and the comedy. There's a lot of comedy in this. I think it's like
yeah,
very, very funny. Like there was stuff that was making me laugh out loud. It does. There are some really heavy moments. Like there's like a like sexual assault scene that like ends,
yeah,
and I was
it
just
gets
like,
heavy,
whoa, like this
and
is
that gets heavy honestly for like for what they would show in a lot of Hong Kong stuff. Like if you were gonna do stuff like that, then you almost became a Cat 3 film, which is like their version of like NC-17. So like them doing that in this movie, even though you don't see any skin, you don't see any nudity whatsoever, even doing that, he was really still like pushing some boundaries with it.
yeah, yeah. That was the only part where it, it didn't quite feel like it fit the rest of like it feels a little bit like a slap in the face out of nowhere. But I mean, this villain is despicable.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
Colon Singh,
Well, the
think.
actor playing the actor who does the assault is Hawk On Fung, who he through most of his like his career as a younger man, he played bad guys, and it's because his face. Just you just look at his face and you're like, that's he's got a villain face, and
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because in his older age, he like the villain face kind of became like a cute old man face. So he pops up as an older man and a lot of stuff like later on. Like he's in Ip Man 2, I think, and it's just like, oh, that's just a nice old man. Little did we know in his younger days, quite the villain.
Yeah, I thought he was a really compelling villain, like very sort of like stereotypically evil, but very evil, and I thought it was really well done. Um, I thought all the performances here were really solid.
Yeah, this one is quite highly regarded amongst kung fu fans as like a pretty high bar for especially like 70s kung fu. This is like really the tail end like this style of kung fu movie. This is almost like it's I won't say petering out, but it's almost like all right, we've reached a peak or we've done all we can do with this style of the genre. And so like going into the 80s, things get a lot more modern, things get a lot more like kickboxing style action and martial arts, but like this is a peak for a lot of people.
So, what would you consider the style of this movie to be?
It is like it's that Peking opera brought to a movie. Like it's really fast paced choreography. It's we're gonna do it all on the ground, almost no wires whatsoever, other than maybe somebody getting pulled back from a kick or something. But it's grounded Peking opera shapes kung fu. Yeah.
Understood. Is this level of humor like normal in this era, or like for kung fu movies, or like is this more or less like how do you feel about that?
Yes, there is a distinct Sammo Hung flavor, I think, even though he didn't direct this one. Yuen Wu Ping did, who again, he was the fight choreographer on the last one, and he's directing this one. But yeah, this level of humor, I think, is very common. I think everyone does it a bit differently. I always say that Jackie Chan gets the credit for establishing the kung fu comedy because it's Jackie Chan, his style of action and all that. But I think Jackie, like, he gets too much of the credit. He deserves credit, but it's there's more people. Like Sammo Hung does so much of it as well. Like and obviously he grew up with Jackie Chan, so they probably have the same sense of humor there. But also Yuan Wu Ping was like a star maker at this point. Like Jackie Chan was already like moderately famous, and then he does Snake and Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master with Yuan Wu Ping directing, and superstardom. And like Yuan Wu Ping deserves just as much credit for establishing like the comedy as like they do in their style of action and everything.
He's also he did the fight choreography for The Matrix, correct?
Yes,
Like all the yeah. I mean,
one of the
where
best.
would yeah, where would you place him in like the all-time pantheon of figures in this genre?
It's top three, if not one or two, because like there's Lau Ka Lung, who did some, like he did like 36 Chamber of Shaolin and some of the most famous kung fu movies of the 70s. But there's several different styles of action in this time, but Yuan Wu Ping is just so clean. When I say he's like a star maker, like, again, Sammo Hung was already doing quite a bit at this time. He directed a few things. He'd starred in his own movies. He'd done stuff, but this one just it's with Yuan Wu Ping directing makes one of Sammo Hung's very best movies. He's made some of Jackie Chan's best movies. He practically discovered Donnie Yen. He's made some of Jet Li's very best movies. Like almost any of like the biggest martial arts kung fu actors, most of their best movies were directed by Yuan Wu Ping.
What do you think his strengths are as a filmmaker? Or like what do you think sets his stuff apart or makes it special?
I think there's just a specific flair to his choreography and to how he captures it. Even today, like he's like 76 years old. He just directed a movie this year called Blades of the Guardians, and it's one of the best action films of the year. And it's because it's his style of action, it's his style of choreography. He's gonna frame it, he's gonna film it exactly the way he wants. He's gotten a bit more. I mean, you could argue he would always try to do something different. I saw a really fun interview with him where he just pretty much said that someone said like, "What's your favorite genre of movie outside of what you do?" And he was like, "I love science fiction." And he was like, if I had the budget, I would make Star Wars but kung fu." And he was like, "My favorite movies are Star Wars and E.T." So
Okay.
like even though he probably only had the limitations of what he could do in Hong Kong at the time, if it were up to him, he would be making some grand, incredible spectacle.
Which the world needs. I feel like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Um, did Sammo Hung ever break into like American film?
Not movies. He did a TV show that I have right here, the whole season 1 and 2 collection. He did a TV show in the late 90s called Martial Law in America. And it's very 90s, first of all. The theme song, the intro, all of it, it's 90s as hell. A lot of like weirdly famous people showed up in this show. Like there's an episode where the villain is Kevin James, like for some reason. His sidekick in the show is Arsenio Hall. Like it's a great show. Kelly who is like, she's like Lady Deathstrike in X-Men. She's the sorceress or whatever in like Scorpion King and stuff like that. Very good show. But the only like American movie I can think of is the Jackie Chan movie, and this is very on point, I guess. The Jackie Chan movie Around the World in 80 Days. He has a cameo in that movie, and in his cameo, he's playing Wong Fei Hung.
Okay. The most portrayed character.
Yeah, there you go. No, but he doesn't have like a massive movie career in America at all. No.
That's a shame. 'Cause
Yeah, it is.
he's very good. He's very funny.
And he's still doing stuff today. He was just in Twilight of the Warriors Walled In a few years ago. That's like one of the best movies of 2024. So he's still working in his old age.
So you prefer Once Upon a Time in China to this?
No, no, I don't. I yeah, no, I don't remember what I gave them on Letterboxd, but
But you
the
wouldn't
action in
you
this. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you wouldn't consider this to be like a Wong Fei Hung movie because it's not about him per
Yeah, not
se.
really.
He
He's
kind of
just
shows
a
up.
side character.
Gotcha. Okay.
But in terms of just as a movie, like the action in this, the choreography, it's too crisp, it's too clean, it's too goddamn good for me to say that Once Upon a Time in China, which is very good, has fantastic actions, very good. Jet Li is fantastic. I love Rosamund Kwan. She's always delightful. But the fights in this movie are too good to say that Once Upon a Time in China is better.
I also think the characters stand out more in this.
Yeah.
Um, like uh,
Everything, well,
Beggar
there's not
So.
as much going on. There's everyone has more time to breathe.
Yes. Um, Fan Mei Sheng. Is that
Yes.
he was very funny, very good
Yeah, he's
as the
good.
beggar. Um, enjoyed his performance a lot.
I'll bounce off of that and hit the kung fu fun fact on this one early, and that is that he was not originally playing Beggar So King Beggar. He was not. By this point, what is it? I always blank. Why do I always blank on this movie's name? Snake and the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master were in 1977 and 1978. Yuan Wu Ping's father, what is it? Simon Wu? Is that right? Where did I have that here? No, I don't have that written down. But I think it's Yuan Su Tin. That sounds right. Yuan Su Tin, their father, his father.
Yes, that's it.
He was already like a very successful person in like Hong Kong movies, not necessarily as an actor, but as like a fight choreographer in like the 50s and everything. And he like had like a resurgence, or like I guess he became famous more, I guess, because his son Yuan Wu Ping made him Beggar So in Snake and the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master. So he was going to return as Beggar So in this, and he'd already actually recorded a few scenes, and then he died of a heart attack.
Damn.
Yeah. So then Yuan Wu Ping then has to go and reshoot those scenes with a whole new actor, which probably wasn't the most fun emotionally.
Yeah, that has to be terrible. Um, also, UN is it Bao or Biao?
I've always said Biao, but apparently it's Bew. But I've always said
You
Biao. I don't know.
he plays the same character in both
He
movies.
does.
Like,
I did not realize that, even
yeah.
watching the movie, until I saw it on IMDb. And I was like, oh, he's the same guy. That's kind of weird. Another thing with the Kung Fu fun fact there is that so Quan Ta King, who plays Wong Fei Hung in this movie, when I said there's an actor who plays him from the 1940s to the 1970s, it's Quan Ta King.
Okay.
Quan Ta King made like 77 movies as Wong Fei Hung.
Talk about getting typecast.
When
Jesus.
and he didn't even start playing that role until he was already in his 40s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. I wonder, I mean, I'm assuming he feels a great deal of pride about that. I
Mm.
wonder if it ever gets tiring playing the same character, but at the same time, you also have the ability to develop him and kind of be him over time. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah. So like the that famous music was developed in his movies.
Are there any of those that are supposed to be really stand out or
I've never seen a single one. They're all black and white. So I don't think I would like any of them. I'm sure. I'm very confident in that. Because
why is that?
I've seen kung fu movies from the 1960s. And for the most part, I don't like any of those. Like any of them. Even like King Hu. King Hu is one of the most respected, famous directors in all of Hong Kong cinema. I've seen two of his movies. I didn't like either of them. And it's all because I grew up on Bruce Lee and Jackie. Bruce Lee comes in 1971. and changes the game. Like, I've seen maybe like 5 to 8 kung fu movies from the 1960s, and I can't. They're primitive, which is kind of maybe rude to say, but they're just so slow, and like even if the story's good, and so like, you know, it's just when the fight scenes start happening, I'm like, this fight scene is just kind of ass. And like, because what Bruce Lee did in 1971 through 1973 in such that short time, he was so good on screen and his choreography was so beyond everybody else that the whole industry then had to get on his level. So like anything pre-Bruce Lee for me is really hard to watch. So I'm sure if I went back to the 1940s and 50s and watched a Kwon Ta-King, Wong Fei Hung movie, I would not have a good time.
That's fair. Where did, not to get that, I mean, short version maybe, but like, where did Bruce Lee come from? Like, how did he break in? Um, how did that come to pass?
He, you know, did his kung fu, did his Wing Chun under Ip Man in Hong Kong in the 1950s, early 60s. He, I mean, he already did. He trained he had some kung fu schools in America. His thing that like initially got him famous in the West is he was Kato in the Green Hornet TV show, right?
Yeah.
So he's Kato in the Green Hornet, and then that gets canceled, and he's not really doing much in the West. He's pitching stuff, but he keeps getting turned down because he's too Chinese, even though he was like mixed race as hell. But then he goes back to Hong Kong just to do like some interviews, and he sees that like he's massive there because they were seeing reruns of the Green Hornet, and he was so cool that he didn't even realize that he was blowing up in Hong Kong. So
Wow.
he was like, oh shit, if I can't get anything greenlit in Hollywood, I'll get something greenlit here.
So without that show, maybe it never comes to pass.
Pretty much.
Wow. Damn. Did not know that.
Yeah. It's very Clint Eastwood. Like, Clint Eastwood couldn't get shit made in the West, and so he went and did spaghetti westerns in Italy.
Yeah. Is that Green Hornet show worth a watch? Like, does it hold up at all or no?
I think some of his fights and stuff hold up. It's kind of weird because it's the Batman show. It was almost kind of a spinoff of Batman in a way. They have a crossover episode with the Adam West Batman, and it was so what made Batman so successful was that it was so campy and goofy. Because
Yeah.
I think that the joke is that the two people that watched Batman were kids and stoners. Like, stoners ate that shit up. So then they make the Green Hornet, but it's too serious. So kids aren't watching it and stoners aren't watching it. So it gets canceled after like one season.
Damn.
Yeah.
I might try to watch an episode.
It's got some fun stuff in it. It's got I don't know if you know Mako, the actor and voice actor Mako. He's in there a little bit.
Mako.
You ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender?
No. Like
Well,
bits and pieces, but like
He's Uncle Iroh.
okay. Gotcha.
It's not an amazing show. There's a reason it got canceled after one season.
It looks very 1966.
Yeah. It's what the fake Bruce Lee was making in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like when
Very
he's in like
odd.
the full black getup, like yeah, he was making Green Hornet.
Very odd scene.
I interviewed that guy. That's one of my interviews. I interviewed Mike Moe, who played Bruce Lee in that movie.
Oh, really?
What else? Yeah, he's a good guy. He's like a proper like. What I think he does Taekwondo. Him and his wife both became like trained and studied and tested to become masters. So he is now a full-on Taekwondo master now.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
he's a
really cool.
guy. What do I got here? So Quantum King is doubled. So there's a fight scene. When I said this movie is so crisp and clean and the fight scenes are so good, there is a fight with Yuan Bu and Pai Wei against Lam Ching Ying and the guy with the monkey staff. I don't know if you remember that fight. I think it's now on a list of like one of my favorite fight scenes I've ever seen. It's everything in this movie is great. That fight scene's freaking incredible. Everyone in that scene, their chemistry is amazing. The speed, the precision, it's an incredible fight scene.
Is that the scene with all of the sound effects where one of them has the
Fan and everything.
yeah. Is it
It
that
makes a
scene
weird
or
noise.
is
Yeah, that's
that
this.
scene?
It's the scene with the fan.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the scene that really stuck in my head. Um, and it was one of those moments where I was just kind of like taking in what I was seeing and being like, this is just not something you see in any type of Western action, really.
No, no, you don't. It's very unique.
One moment that was very strange, but also a really good fight was the Wildcat fight with Chung
Yeah,
Fat.
yeah. Fat Chong in that. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, Very strange moment.
yeah. I
But
can't speak
like
to making that make sense, but it's still pretty. It was still pretty cool to watch.
that was very like that to me was very like Nacho Libre. Like when he
Yeah,
fights like the little do you like
yeah. I
Nacho
know what you
Libre?
mean. I haven't seen it since it was in theaters, and I would have
Okay.
been, I don't know, 11 years old maybe at the time. I
Gotcha.
remember not loving it because it was so awkward,
Okay.
but I'm sure I haven't given it a watch as an adult, and I'm sure I would like it more as an adult.
You should watch it again. I think it's like an
Yeah,
absolute masterpiece.
I should
With the
because my
little
wife
like
does love it.
devils that he fights, it was very,
Yeah, I know
very
what you
much
mean.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird character, but even watching that fight scene, like the acrobatics and everything, the choreography with the
Yes.
acrobatics was so interesting. It was so neat that I was like, I don't care if this is weird. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, same here. Like I don't mind stuff that's strange. I just wanted to be like in a movie like this, I just want to be entertained and it definitely did that. I feel like every character is so big and like
Yeah,
memorable. And I feel like that's kind of a strength of this in comparison to Once Upon a Time. Um how would you describe Sammo Hung's fighting style in general? Like what made him him?
well, I mean, very specifically, his style in this it's almost a more faithful Hung Gar than we see in Once Upon a Time in China. Because Jet Li has such a wushu background, like he has a, I think it's a more I think Jet Li's is a more northern wushu style, whereas Sammo Hung is sticking to a more faithful style that would have been taught by Wong Fei Hung. But no, Sammo Hung's whole thing is just he's gonna surprise the hell out of you because he is gonna be a bigger guy. He's got some size, but he's still gonna be fast. He's gonna be powerful. He's gonna do a flip and do some crazy aerial like twist or something in the air. Like there's a moment in his final fight against Hoi Sang Lee where he does like a really quick rapid like succession of moves of going from the ground to in the air and everything really fast, and it's like, yeah, that's just Sammo Hung. He's going to be a big guy who's going to surprise the hell out of you.
And Hoi Song Lee is Master Ko, the father. Is that right?
Yeah, he's the a-hole's father at the end fight, yeah. Who he's just, I also have a note on here just to say Hoi Sang Lee appreciation, because Hoi Sang Lee, he is one of my very favorite people to see in anything. If I see Hoi Sang Lee in a movie, I'm like, something's good about to happen. Because anything he's in, it's good. He's just always going to try to do the best fight. He has a one of my favorite moments in 36 Chamber of Shaolin that is, in my opinion, the best moment in that whole movie. He's anything he pops up as the villain. He's in John Woo's Last Hurrah for Chivalry. Anything Hoi Sang Lee, he's gonna probably have the best part in the whole movie.
I I very much enjoyed his performance. I feel like in my head I was thinking going into that fight that like maybe there would be some type of reconciliation, like he would come to understand like his son was a piece of shit and be like, okay, yeah, that's fair. But that fight was very, very good.
Yeah,
Um, this is kind of a random question, but like I feel like you're talking about a lot of these people that like go way back and make so much stuff, and these people are all with each other a lot. Like as a community, was the this particular film industry like close knit? Do people like get along? Were there big egos? Like was there did people not like each other? Like what was it like? Or do you can you speak to that?
I don't know if there was a lot of. I mean, I don't know if it was even small. There was. I think there was more intermingling than people probably think, because this is so the two movies we watched here were Golden Harvest films. The two biggest studios were Golden Harvest and Shaw Brothers. And Golden Harvest was almost born from Shaw Brothers because the guy who started it, Raymond Chow, got tired of working at Shaw Brothers and he left and started his own studio in Golden Harvest. But you kind of just always see, oh well, Shaw Brothers guys only show up in Shaw Brothers movies, and Golden Harvest guys only show up in Golden Harvest movies. Every now and again, somebody would cross over. It didn't happen very often. But then, like, every now and again, I'll find, like, a picture of, like, somebody visiting a set. Like, there's pictures of, like, Bruce Lee visiting some sets, Jackie Chan hanging out with people. You know, a bigger Shaw Brothers actor is going to go visit a Sammo Hung movie, and it's like, oh, some of y'all were just bros. Some of y'all were pretty good. Yeah, and I'm like, there's like every now and again you'll hear something like I think there was like a falling out between Sammo and Jackie in like the late '80s that I'm sure they patched it up within 6 months, but every now and again you hear some sort of story.
And Jackie Chan is like not the nicest guy. Is that
Yeah, I read his book recently, and he admitted to a lot of really crazy behavior. And there's already been stories about, like, you know, he has a daughter out of wedlock that he doesn't care for very much. The rumor was that she's a lesbian and he's a homophobe and he didn't like that, but I haven't heard that, like, confirmed at all. I don't know, he's weird. I wouldn't say he's weird towards women. Michelle Yeoh did an interview back in the 90s when she was promoting her Bond movie, where she just, like, she was on like a late night talk show and someone just asked her, like, what do you think of Jackie Chan? And she's like, I love Jackie. He's one of my closest friends. He's a misogynistic pig. And she just says that. And she's like, I love him. He's one of my very close friends. He's a misogynist.
damn?
And she was pretty much was just like, if it was up to Jackie, I wouldn't be doing stunts in movies. I would be in the kitchen.
But is he the one that got you into this particular genre? Pardon the French
No,
there?
actually, he's a male chauvinistic pig. he always
That'll sell
says,
tickets for him, won't it?
No. Jackie and I are very good friends. I say this to it, to his face. You know, he always believes that women should stay at home and cook and don't do anything and be the victim and da. Except for Michelle. Except for Michelle now, he says, because I would kick his butt. Say that.
Now
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like in his book, he says stuff that he did that it's like, wow, you kind of an asshole.
Yeah. Damn. I mean, I guess that's not really surprise. I mean, any star, like, it's just not surprising, I guess. But that's unfortunate.
I mean, and I guess you could probably say it for any actor, like you just said, but there's like a weird thing where it just feels like every decision he made, it doesn't feel like he had a lot of decisions that were for the passion. Like there's a few, like, a Police Story or a Gorgeous or something. But there's so many decisions that it's like, I did this because I wanted to be famous. Like I wanted to be a superstar. So there's a handful of movies and stuff that he did that it sounds like he was like, I need to make this as an artist. But then there's just a handful of, there's a lot of things he did that it's just like, I knew that if I did this, I would be more famous. So I did it. I mean, that's why I did Rush Hour. Like he to this day, he doesn't like Rush Hour. He doesn't get Rush Hour. He doesn't understand Rush Hour.
Made a video about that.
But they backed up a truck of money and he was like, fuck, I gotta go do Rush Hour.
It's gotta like crush your soul at a certain point where you're just like, I hate this and I'm putting in months and months and months. Like, that can't be a good feeling.
I mean, I think he made up for that by every now and again doing something that he could be passionate about. Like, like I said in a TikTok one time, was he he said it himself. He's like, I did Rush Hour for the money, but Gorgeous was my baby. And Gorgeous is a great movie. I love Gorgeous. But, you know, I guess I heard there's an Edward Norton interview where somebody asked him about doing Wes Anderson movies, and I think they asked, why do you do like commercials in Japan or like some random foreign country? And he was just like, oh, you like those Wes Anderson movies I do? I almost do them for free. He was like, I do commercials in Japan so that I can afford to do a Wes Anderson movie that pays me $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I assume every actor goes through that to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
But, you know, it's really hard with Jackie because we learn these terrible things about him. Like, I mean, the worst thing, I don't know about the worst thing. You could argue the worst thing of him being such a hardcore Chinese government sympathizer and selling out his people in Hong Kong. And as much as I could hate on that and say he's a piece of shit for doing all that stuff, I'm still going to watch Drunken Master 2. It's a good movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, we also live in a time when like people can watch whatever they want, however they want to watch it, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. That's plus I feel like I think a lot of the really terrible people in the industry are, and a lot of the most heinous shit that happened back in the day, like they're all dead. So like watching that stuff now, like Hitchcock was a psychopath, like a
Yeah.
complete turd. But like he's dead. I'm gonna go watch his movies, and I can say they're good. It doesn't matter. He's gone. So
Yeah. Well, like, you know, we can, like, Bruce Lee was just a serial cheater. Like, that dude, he cheated on his wife so much he died in his mistress's bed.
is that for real?
Yeah, 100%. I think her name was Betty Ting Pei. He
Dang.
was at her house, and he was like, I'm gonna go take a nap, and he died in her bed.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Still like Bruce Lee.
Yeah. When did he die?
When or how?
When?
1973.
How old was he?
33. He was born in 40.
Damn. It's my age.
Cerebral edema.
That's horrible.
Or cerebral edema or hematoma. Brain stuff.
Was it from fight and impact, or?
No, he just was not truly the healthiest man. He was the picture of health, but just because he was the picture of health does not mean he was actually the healthiest. He was an ill child, an ill baby. He had like aversions to alcohol. That's actually pretty common apparently in many Asian people. He would get overheated and stuff like that really easily. There's stories of him training with his students in the park, and they're like, yeah, 20 minutes in, we just had to stop because he was about to pass out. And like weeks before he died, he like fainted in a sound booth.
Gotta go to the hospital, man. That's
Well, and then he also, so again, with his, and this is, I don't know, it's the weird thing I always cite. He had an issue with overheating, and he knows he had an issue with overheating, and then he had his sweat glands surgically removed from his armpits.
He had what?
So I'm like, his sweat glands removed from his armpits.
That just sounds like you're suicidal.
Like he
I didn't know that was a thing that
he
you could
didn't
do.
want it to. Yeah, apparently it is, but he didn't like the way it looked on screen. He worried that he would look stupid on screen. So he had his sweat glands surgically removed, and he already has a problem with heat exhaustion. And yeah.
I mean, that's a little bit of natural selection right there. Charles Darwin is.
I mean, I'm sure also something that didn't help was all the cocaine, but yeah.
He did a lot of coke.
He did a lot of coke. We didn't learn that until a few years ago. We learned that from I can't remember the guy's name. Bob Baker. I think it was Bob Baker. Bob Baker was one of his students, and he was also the white villain in Fist of Fury. So if you ever watch Fist of Fury, you'll know that the guy he fights at the end is the guy who gave him coke.
Damn.
But Bob Baker died, and his daughter auctioned off a bunch of his letters, and so you can find them online. It's just like letters between Bruce in Hong Kong and him in America, and they're not saying cocaine, but he's using code words asking him to send him cocaine.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Damn.
we didn't learn that until like 6 years ago.
So that guy like got him onto it, you think?
I don't know if he got him onto it. I mean, Bruce Lee, again, he had an aversion to alcohol, so he didn't drink. But I mean, I'm sure he hung out with a lot of huge Hollywood stars. He knew like James Coburn and I'm blanking on the guys. I don't even know. Lots of guys. He was friends with lots of really huge Hollywood actors. I'm sure any one of them could have got him hooked on cocaine.
Yeah. Damn. That's a shame.
Yeah. So there was, again, picture of health, but that's about it. The picture of health.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've covered just about everything I have here on The Magnificent Butcher. I don't know if there's a whole lot to talk about, but goddamn if it's not a really good movie.
Yeah. I very much enjoyed it, and like it's a movie where not much stuck out to me as something I didn't like.
Yeah.
Like I said, the one scene, I mean the scene with the him going after the woman, it just felt like a little bit jarring just because of the rest of the movie and how like light some of it was. But I mean, he was a real piece of shit, and he gets his eventually, which was definitely satisfying. I also thought it was
Yeah.
funny. He was like, "I'm not gonna kill you, but you're gonna die," and then he just hits him in the head and kills him. I was like,
Yeah.
"You definitely killed him," but it was
That's how
funny.
they did it back then. You didn't threaten. You would threaten somebody with just violence, but not death, and then just death happened. It's happened. That's how all of them work.
Yeah, but
I've got to go ahead.
no, I very much enjoyed this, so thank you.
I love it a lot. I always forget how much I love it, and then I watch it. I'm like, yeah, no, God, it's a great movie. But I've got a book here that is the new essential guide to Hong Kong movies. That if we ever talk about a movie that is in this book, I read something from this book about that movie. And I've got something here for both of them. There's more. They say a lot more on Once Upon a Time in China than they do on The Magnificent Butcher, really annoyingly. But let me see if I lose the part here. So, a bit of an excerpt from this book on Once Upon a Time in China. They said, this is an unusually powerful movie because it pays pretty close attention to historical detail, particularly the oppression of the Chinese by a terrifying new weapon, the gun. Jet Li, in top form, portrays Wong Fei Hung as the embodiment of traditional Chinese values and moral rectitude. At a time of great danger and exploitation, the choreography is masterful, with Wong taking on hoodlums armed only with an umbrella in a thunderstorm and atop a tower of bamboo ladders. Jet Li's superfluid and graceful kung fu makes the action soar. He leaps, flips, spins, flies up in a whirling crescent kick, and lands in a full split with masterful action, merges with the interesting historical backdrop to make a wonderfully paced, outstanding kung fu movie. Thoughts on that compared to your thoughts on Once Upon a Time in China?
That was great. I think something we didn't touch on really is, and I think is pretty important, is the concept of the firearm. We kind of talked about it in terms of like talking about kind of the infighting with the Chinese, and it was always like hand to hand, and like normally that was kind of followed up with a presentation of firearms and the damage they can do and how harmful they are to people. And I feel like it showed you how just outmatched people were when that technology was introduced, and the kind of feeling of helplessness.
Right. Yeah. So the way this book does it is with every movie, they like sum up the plot and then they give like their actual thoughts. And the annoying thing with The Magnificent Butcher on this one is there's like a whole huge paragraph of like the plot, and then this one they just barely said anything about their thoughts, and it's really dumb. It's really annoying. The only thing they actually said for their actual opinion for this was the movie was originally set to star Yuan Su-tin, Yuan Wu-Ping's father, in the Sam Seed role, but sadly he passed away during the early stages of production. The film was completed with Fan Mei Shang in the role and has become an enduring kung fu classic. The Magnificent Butcher is a must-see for all Hong Kong kung fu buffs. I wish they could have said a lot more, but that's all they said on that one. And I agree, it is a must-see if you like kung fu action.
Yeah, that was very generic take
Right.
they had there, but
It's very, this whole thing of all these opinions and everything, and that's all they had to say.
huh. Who put that together?
This is Rick Baker and Ken Miller, who I don't know what they did. I was thinking maybe one of them was from like Black Belt Magazine or something, but I don't know. There is an afterword by Cynthia Rothrock, that actress I brought up earlier, and there's a forward by Jackie Chan.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Getting into our final questions here. You have now seen 4 Hong Kong martial arts films, 2 old school and 2 widely acclaimed classics of the genre. What do you think you have taken away from these 4 movies, aside from lots of foreign invaders and rich assholes?
I think I've taken away kind of what we talked about earlier, just in terms of what action can look like. And I think when the action is the focal point and you have people that are passionate about it and it's not viewed as an afterthought, or just viewed as something to fill space and time, um, it really can be incredible. And it makes you, I think when you're used to watching like Western action movies or Western TV and stuff, it um, can give you a little bit of a hunger to ask for more and to
Yeah.
look for more. Um, and even that's why I like even watching something as a kid like The Matrix, seeing the influence there, like you immediately were like, oh, there's something else happening here, and then
Yeah, yeah.
finding out why is really cool.
Yuan Wu Ping, baby.
Yeah, yeah, but I've enjoyed to some extent all 4 of those movies, and I really loved, I would say, 2 of them so far. So it's
Ip
been
Man
great.
and Magnificent Butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty freaking great. So as we bring up Yuan Wu Ping, also choreographed The Matrix. I want to say he also was like the action director on the first one at least, because I think part of his deal was, I will only do this if I can like make the fight scenes to my liking, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't doubt it if he straight up directed the actual fight scenes of that movie. Are you curious to checking out any other Yuan Wu Ping films?
Yes.
He's got
Um,
some amazing stuff, some of the best stuff.
yeah, some of the stuff I wrote down that I want to try to watch after this is Iron Monkey, Fearless, Hero, for Jet Li, Blades of the Guardians. Was that
Yeah, that's the one that he had come out earlier this year. Yeah,
okay?
I think that's
Can
available
you
on VOD now.
understood? Can you give me one more from him that you consider to be like a classic or must watch?
For Yuan Wu Ping, one that he actually directed, I think would be Tai Chi Master, another Jet Li movie. You could argue I was gonna say Fist of Fury, which I think he didn't direct that one. He was just the fight choreographer on that one. It is still like what's one of Jet Li's very best films. But like, I would say Tai Chi Master. He directed that one, and it's fantastic. Michelle Yeoh is also in that one.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. You could also go like old school with like his original Drunken Master with Jackie Chan.
hmm
That's always a great one to watch. I had a recommendation. What was I going to say? Oh, 3 other Wong Fei Hung focused movies that I was going to recommend for you here. It was going to be some much more old school, something a bit newer, at least from the mid '90s, and then a much newer film. There is a Lau Ka Lung directed. Again, Lau Ka Lung is an actual like martial arts descendant of Wong Fei Hung. He has a movie called Martial Club, where his main character in that is Wong Fei Hung. And then there is the Jackie Chan, I was going to say Drunken Master 2. He's playing Wong Fei Hung in those movies, even though it's, obviously he's just doing drunken boxing, so it's not very Wong Fei Hung of him, I guess. But I'd say the second one of that. And then, do you remember watching a movie like last year or the year before called like it was like Black Dog or something with Eddie Peng?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. Do I have it behind me somewhere? I got it somewhere. He did a movie called Rise of the Legend, where he was like a young, like teenage Wong Fei Hung.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Also, Blades of the Guardians looks very fucking cool.
Dude, it is
I'm
like
excited to watch this. Like I
I loved it. It is like there's some like Kung Fu Mad Max shit in there. Like
that sounds
it
great.
feels like if Mad Max Fury Road was a kung fu movie.
I'm I'm sold.
Yeah, I loved it. I've been recommending people who have not been watching it all year round. Let me see. Do you have any other final thoughts on our
Wait, did you
kung
say
fu journey here today? Was it what?
did you say it is it's rentable now?
It should be. I remember. I work with Well Go USA on like, they send me like screeners and stuff. That's how I got to see it because it didn't play anywhere near me. But yeah, I believe it should be on VOD now. Let me double check here. Blades of the Guardians. Yeah, it is available to rent now.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Also, Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. You brought that up a few times. Is that
I know many people who love it. It's one of their favorite Jackie Chan movies. It's not in my top 10 for me.
okay?
There is a weird phenomenon. I don't know if it's probably not that weird, but Jackie made 4 movies, not necessarily in a row, but in very close succession, that are all very similar, and they all get better as they go. It started with Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, again, directed by Yuen Wu Peng. Then they followed that up with, which it's good. It is good. Undeniably, it's good. But then they followed that up with Drunken Master, which is amazing. And then Jackie splits off from Yuen Wu Peng and makes his directorial debut with Fearless Hyena, which has just a shockingly similar plot to the previous 2 movies. But then he does his own thing, and I think, oh, you've nailed it now. Like, the first 2 are good and great, but you did this on your own and you nailed it. It's amazing. But then he makes The Young Master, and I'm like, you did it again. It's even better. So, like, just he makes these 4 movies in quick succession that are all very similar, and they all keep getting better. So, like, I don't love that one, but it's still good.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So do you have any other final thoughts on our Kung Fu journey here today?
No, thank you for the time and the recommendations and I have a lot of stuff I'd like to watch here, and I
Hell
will
yeah.
actually remember to watch it. Um,
I really
I,
do think that, like, the 2 on there that I think they're, like, very up your alley, I think Fearless and Hero.
yeah,
I'd be curious to see what you think of those 2 movies. I think they're very up your alley.
cool. Thank you.
No problem. My last question here, you've heard it before. Did you have fun?
Yes, absolutely.
Hell yeah. Dan, go ahead and let everybody know where you're at.
Yeah, it's Reel.Takes on TikTok and Instagram, on YouTube, trying to get going there. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, all links will be down below in the description of course. You can, of course, find me on Instagram at Martial Arts Film Freak. Got the Facebook page, got the TikTok, on the Blue Sky occasionally. Thank you guys for joining me for this episode of I Welcome You to Kung Fu. Let us know in the comment section what you thought of Once Upon a Time in China and The Magnificent Butcher. Would love to hear everyone's thoughts. Which one do you prefer? I think I'm a little shocked on Dan's thoughts here today, preferring one, just because I know he likes his history movies so much. But thank you so much for watching this one, whether it is your first time watching because you wanted to see Dan talk some Kung Fu, or you've stuck around for quite a long time. I welcome you to Kung Fu.